Welcome to the Psalms in Crisis, Episode 2. Now, last time we looked at Psalm number 3 and Psalm number 13. Now we're going to skip ahead a few more to Psalm number 22. So you can move ahead in your Bible to Psalm 22. And again, you see there's a headline, usually, a title, again given by not the ancient author, but the very modern writer or editor of the Bible. And this one, in my version at least, it says it's the Psalm of an Innocent Person. And you'll recognize parts of this psalm, that this is very much a psalm associated with Holy Week, especially with the reading of the Passion. You'll see a number of lines in this psalm that relate directly to the Passion readings in the Gospel, particularly the Gospel according to Matthew. So you'll recognize some of these things. So this is the Psalm of an Innocent Person. And the little ancient instruction says, for the leader, whatever that means, according to the deer of the dawn. And that's some kind of notation getting them to say, well, sing the song like this, to this tune, the deer of the dawn. Apparently this was a song that they knew at the time, and you were to sing it. It would be like saying, sing this song according to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Or so. I'm not suggesting that it would be appropriate to say the psalm according to that, but it's just giving them how they should sing the song. And then it says, a psalm of David. So again, King David is the author of this psalm. And it begins with a line that you have heard. My God, why have you abandoned me? Why so far from my call for help, from my cries of anguish? So you recognize those first words, my God, why have you abandoned me? This is what Christ said as he was dying on the cross. This very distant feeling from God, that he feels completely abandoned, completely cut off. And David is saying the same thing here. So this psalm, written by David, is about King David, but we can see also clearly that this is a psalm about Christ, 1,000 years before Christ came along. And so as we read through this, we keep in mind this is by David, but this is also about Jesus. And so we'll see how that unfolds. So he's saying that he feels very far from God, that he's calling out and God is not answering. My God, I call by day, but you do not answer. By night, but I have no relief. So he's calling out night and day, not getting any sleep. He's in such agony over his problems. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the glory of Israel. In you our ancestors trusted. They trusted and you rescued them. So he's saying that our ancestors, Moses and Abraham, Isaac, those characters, that they trusted in the Lord. They called out to him and he answered them. He's basically saying, well, why aren't you doing the same with me, Lord? To you they cried out and they escaped. In you they trusted and they were not disappointed. But I am a worm, hardly human. So David is being a little dramatic here. He's saying, I'm not even worthy of being listened to. I'm not even worthy of being heard. I'm a worm. I'm dirt. I'm lower than dirt. I'm a slimy thing crawling around in the dirt. So he says, I am a worm, hardly human, scorned by everyone, despised by the people. So David is feeling pretty low. All who see me mock me. They curl their lips and jeer. They shake their heads at me. Again, you will hear this very same thing in the Gospels, referring to the people who are mocking Christ as he is crucified. And the psalm says, you relied on the Lord. Let him deliver you. If he loves you, let him rescue you. This is the same that was said to Jesus as he was dying on the cross. Well, you say you're the Son of God. If you're the Son of God, he will take care of you. And they were ridiculing him. And David is saying the same thing, referring to himself. You relied on the Lord, they say to him. If he loves you, he'll take care of you. And they are implying that he won't, that God will not take care of David. That's what the people are implying. And then he changes, yet you drew me forth from the womb, made me safe at my mother's breast. Upon you I was thrust from the womb. Since birth you are my God. And so he's saying, well, you're the one who made me, Lord. You're the one who created me. You brought me into this world. I need your help. Do not stay far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. So he's saying, who can I turn to for help? Nobody. Nobody is on my side. Lord, I'm really hoping you are on my side at this time. And then he goes on like this. This is a much larger or longer psalm than the other two we looked at. It's probably 3 times the size. And here we have another section where he's going on about his suffering. He says, many bulls surround me. Fierce bulls of Bashan encircle me. And he's not talking about actual bulls, but people who are just big jerks. They're mean, they're cruel, they are ridiculing him, they hate him. He's comparing them to these different animals, we'll see. He goes through a whole zoo of animals who are bothering him, these people. They open their mouths against me, lions that rend and roar. So his enemies are like lions getting ready to tear him limb from limb. And then he describes exactly how he's feeling. Like water, my life drains away. All my bones grow soft. I'm not quite sure what that feeling is like, but he's feeling pretty miserable. My heart has become like wax. It melts away within me. As dry as a potsherd is my throat, a piece of an old pot, a piece of a clay pot. That's what his throat feels like. My tongue sticks to my palate. You lay me in the dust of death. So he's feeling very bad. He feels like he's dead. He's almost dying. I have a little kitty friend coming to see me. Then he says, many dogs surround me. Again, bad people. A pack of evildoers closes in on me. He never mentions cats. Well, I guess a lion's a cat. Never mind. So wasted are my hands and feet that I can count all of my bones. Again, we see this in the Gospels. They stare at me and gloat. They divide my garments among them. And for my clothing they cast lots. Here's another thing that we see in the Gospel, I think especially in Matthew, where the soldiers have taken Jesus' clothing, they've stripped him, and they're casting lots. And it was a typical thing to do when clothing was much more scarce than it is now. Now they crank it out like crazy in factories, but at that time, clothing was fairly special. A lot of people just had what they had on. And so, being special, they wouldn't just let it go to waste. They wouldn't just throw some condemned criminal's clothing into the dumpster, but they would auction it off or roll dice to see who got it. But you, Lord, do not stray far off. My strength, come quickly to help me. Deliver me from the sword. My forlorn life from the teeth of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth. My poor life from the horns of the wild bulls. So save me from all these horrible monsters who are out to get me. Again, he's mentioning animal names, but I don't think bulls especially were after him, but it was people. People were giving him a lot of trouble. And now we see things change. So David has clearly expressed what he was feeling. He said just how miserable he feels. And we should be able to feel or be able to state just that same way, in that same way, when we're speaking to God. God, this is how I feel. It's awful. And we can say right from the depths of our heart, what is going on in our heart. And as we pour it out to God, it's good for ourselves to think about it, to think about what it is we're going through, what it is we're experiencing. Now it changes. So he's just said, save my life from the lion's mouth, from the wild bulls. Then I will proclaim your name to the assembly. In the community, I will praise you. I have to put up nets or something to keep the cats off the table. Tobermory is always very interested in what I'm doing. Usually he finds it's very boring and goes away after a while, but he still disturbs me. In the assembly, I will proclaim your name. In the community, I will praise you. So he's saying, save me, Lord, so I can announce this to the whole world, so that this can be a sort of evangelical event. You will show how good you are to me, so that I can tell people how good you are to me. And he will say, you who fear the Lord, give praise. All descendants of Jacob, give honor. Show reverence, all descendants of Israel. So we see how things are changing. And the change in this psalm from woe am I, and this is miserable, I am just about dead, changes to I give you praise, God. It's like the change from Good Friday to Easter Sunday. We see the same sort of transformation. What's he doing back there? For God has not spurned or disdained the misery of this poor wretch. He's realizing God has not abandoned him. It felt like it. The experience in his heart kind of told him that, but it was just a feeling. That God has not abandoned this miserable wretch, he calls himself. Did not turn away from me, but heard me when I cried out. That God does hear us. It's not a matter of if he does. He does. He does hear our cry. He did not turn away from me, but heard me when I cried out. I will offer praise in the great assembly. My vows I will fulfill before those who fear him. The poor will eat their fill, and those who seek the Lord will offer praise. May your hearts enjoy life forever. So this is, again, David speaking, but could be just as easily applied to Jesus Christ, that through his resurrection we have what we need. We have salvation. The poor are given their fill. Those who have nothing suddenly have something, have much of something. All the ends of the earth will worship and turn to the Lord. All the families of nations will bow low before you. Again, here's Jesus. This is Jesus, that salvation being opened up to everyone, because people will see just how good God is to David and through Jesus Christ. For kingship belongs to the Lord, the ruler over the nations. All who sleep in the earth will bow low before God. All who have gone down into the dust will kneel in homage. What's he talking about? He's talking about those who sleep in the earth, those who go down and who have gone down into the dust, the dead. The dead will worship him. His goodness will be so extreme that even those who have turned to dust will bow down and worship him. And again, this is Jesus Christ. This is Jesus himself showing forth his glory, not just to those who were alive at that time, but to those all who had gone before him, raising them up. And I will live for the Lord. My descendants will serve you. Generation to come will be told of the Lord, that they may proclaim to a people yet unborn the deliverance that you have brought. So that how good God is to David, how good God is through what he has done in Jesus Christ 1,000 years after David, that this will be something that the generations will talk about ever after. It's something that we know of today. We know how good God has been to each of us. We know how he has blessed us, and we are to proclaim that. And so we see this psalm, again, two parts: the complaint, the bitterness, and then the praise and the glory. In the same way we could make up our own psalm like we did last time. We can freely pour out what we're experiencing to the Lord, what we feel in the depths of our heart. And then we realize that God will take care of us. He will prevail over these things, that he, even though we go down into the dust of the earth, even though we sleep in death, he will be with us and he will raise us up. And so we have nothing to fear. We have nothing to fear. And we ask the Lord to be with us and to help us, like David. We have these moments where we wonder, well, what the heck is going on? What will become of me? What will become of my family? What will whatever? We know that the Lord will be with us, and so we keep that in mind as we go through these trying times, and as we enter into Holy Week now, we can maybe reread the Psalm a few times, because this is very much the Psalm of Holy Week. And so God bless you, and I will prepare something for next time. Goodbye now.